As always, every time IVE releases a new project, I have to talk about it. However, compared to their past ones, I believe this one is far more special. Many of you may recognize IVE as simply another K-pop group that often creates catchy songs and trends from time to time, but I always had a different perspective on them. They've always been a favorite of mine. Why? Well, other than their exceptional production, they're willing to be intimate with their work. When I learned that their next album was going to be titled IVE EMPATHY, my mind started scrambling. This is something I wanted more from them than any other group active now, an album that delves deeper into their inner thoughts and emotions. It's always a risk to release something a little more personal in K-pop, yet I was more excited than nervous, and I gotta say, they absolutely delivered, and even more than expected. Empathy is the ability to understand and share the feelings of another. A lot of us would immediately correlate it to something sad, and yeah, I guess that's right. But like most things in life, not everything is one-sided. IVE is kind of all over the place in this album, but in a good way. This album can be divided into 3 distinct sections that highlight the various faces of empathy. That's if they even have one. After evaluating the lyrics, I think these 2 stand out the most, not just musically, but also thematically. Let's start with TKO. TKO is a ruthless song, no hiding that. An aggressive clapback to the haters who just won't leave them alone. As many of you may already know, IVE is a victim of mass hate and disrespect from quite literally everyone. It's ridiculous how whatever they seem to do eventually leads to them receiving backlash for God knows what reason. And usually, K-pop groups are too kind to respond. And most of the time when they do, it's never a fight back, but rather done in a defensive approach. I love myself. Your opinion doesn't matter. This is my life and you can't do anything about it. But never, fuck you, shut the hell up, I'll knock you out. That is, until this song.
Cause I'm a TKO 뻔한 네 머릿속 미닫아쳐 넌 끊고 I'm back to the bam Cause I'm a TKO.
I surely didn't expect IVE to have a song like this ever, but if there's anyone with the right to, it would be them. TKO is a response to the lack of empathy they've received from the nasty mouths of their haters. A bit of a stretch, but to me this is their not like us moment. This is a diss track, no doubt about it. A hate anthem. An apathetic response to the people who've disrespected them all this time, and I love to hear it. On the other hand, Flu is quite different. It's a romance song, I guess. It's definitely about love, but not quite again as you'd expect from this group, because it's not romantic at all. I'm not sure whether it's just me, but this song tries to be cute when it's not. For me, Flu is told from the point of view of someone stuck in a toxic relationship. I mean, just look at these lyrics.
Don't you let me down, 난 좀 해로운 flow 다정하지만 네 말투는 so cool 넌 나의 기분 that I'm falling for you 낮게 하지마, 넌 좀 해로운 flow.
But thematically, it still makes sense, because I'd say this leans towards hyper-empathy, caring so much for someone that it ends up hurting you or those around you. That's a tough reality. Like most things in life, having too much of something isn't always a good thing. But bottom line is, these 2 are complete opposites. TKO tells the apathetic mindset of a person who's received little to no empathy, while Flu shows how having too much of it can be just as damaging. There is a gray line that we should respect, and we'll talk about that now. The title tracks present a more base-level message than the others, but that doesn't make it any less important. Let's start with Attitude, a song similar to TKO in that they address their naysayers. If TKO was a direct attack, Attitude is more walk the talk. IVE has always been promoted as a self-assured, narcissistic group, right? They embrace their confidence and individuality, ultimately getting them to rise above the negativity they receive. I think it's safe to say that the people who hate this group are just jealous. And you know what envious people hate? A confident person. But you know what they hate more? Being disregarded. And Attitude was all that.
비바람쳐도 don't care about it 한 끄라지 머리 so pretty 짜증 대신에 I'm just laughing 해봐 어디 I'm so lucky 방금 올린 picture click.
A confident song that focuses on the single most important individual, yourself. How you move, how you dress, how you act, though a little different from others, it's all for yourself. No one wants a bitch in their ear screaming, "I don't like you," right? Because this is my life, and that is who I am.
운명이 장난을 걸어오면 놓아줘야지 못하겠어. I'm that girl, I'm that attitude. 내가 줄게 나의 mood, I'm that attitude.
Then there's also the Tom's Diner sample, which may seem like just a cool addition, but I'd say there's more than meets the ear. From my interpretation, Tom's Diner is a song about how people, whether alone or with someone, go on about with their lives. We all have our shit going on, and at the end of the day, the people we care about the most are ourselves. There's also the fact that it is written by one Young, who's probably faced every possible adversity, yet has held her head high all this time. The message is simple, just like how her iconic words go, "You are you, and I am me." That is something you could never take from anyone.
그 누가 아무리 뭐라 해도 솔직히 내게는 맘이 들어. So you can love me, hate me. You will never be, never be, never be me.
Rebel Heart talks about the same thing that we've heard countless times, but I think the song that reminds me of it is Baddie. Now you might think I'm crazy, but hear me out. Baddie and Rebel Heart tap into that hidden confidence within us. In that, even if we're feeling low, there is a baddie inside all of us, ready to show the world the baddest bitch they've ever known. Rebel Heart is the same. Deep inside all of us, we are rebels. We fight for the things we love, we fight for what is right, and we hate the system that disrespects us. We are not outsiders, we are simply just ourselves. The music video really drives this point home, showing how the members are treated unfairly simply for being who they are, misunderstood, misjudged, and surrounded by those who fail to see the full picture. The song's ending especially parallels I Am, a song a lot of people compare Rebel Heart to. In its climactic moment, IVE moves beyond just celebrating individuality. They extend their hand to those who share the same struggle. It's an empowering anthem that has been written and sung many times, yet it will never lose its impact. Because this is what it means to truly connect, to understand, to relate, to feel what others feel. This is empathy.
You wanna cry, come on. 삼킨 눈물 터질 때까지. You wanna cry, 난 영원히 있어줄게 네 곁에. 유난히지 든 하루 끝.
We started off from the other side of the spectrum, and now we're right into what we all know as empathy. Starting with You Wanna Cry, a song that almost got me to tears. I could tell that it was sad when listening to it, but reading the lyrics and actually understanding what they were saying told me that if I did know Korean, I would have cried to it. It's deeply emotional. That's the least you can say. Let's begin with the title choice. If it was titled You Can Cry, I think that'd be very expected, predictable. A title like that says that you don't always have to hold yourself back, because you are allowed to cry, you are allowed to feel sadness, you can. But You Wanna Cry? That hits differently, and I think this choice changes the whole intention of the song. I do realize that the line You Wanna Cry is delivered as a question, and it makes sense, but let me reach a little more. I don't know if it's just me, but I think a lot of us do not want to cry. More accurately, we'd rather not. The reasons vary from person to person, but at its core, I think it's just because we don't like to feel depressed. We know when we're sad or down, and crying is a way to let emotions out even just for a bit. But when we suppress those feelings, it does show that we may be too hard on ourselves. You Wanna Cry, in a way, is also a song about being confident in yourself, and IVE tells us to just let it out, because it is a part of being human. We can be in love, we can be rebels, we can be kind. Why can't we be vulnerable? I'm not trying to imply that IVE wants you to cry, but at times when it matters, when you feel it, do. A part of loving yourself isn't limited to just uplifting your spirits. It's also about respect for yourself. And ultimately, that is a part of self-love, a message IVE has always been spreading. And once again, you are not alone in this. There are 8 billion people in this world, and while we may not all know each other, we share this compassion as human beings. The main takeaway here is, don't be afraid to have empathy for yourself.
We're gonna be together. You're not alone forever. We're gonna be together. You're not alone forever. We're gonna stay together. I'm gonna love forever. We're gonna stay together. I'm gonna love forever.
The final song, Thank You, tells this clearer. At first impression, this song presents itself to be like a love letter to the fans. The usual, thank you for supporting us anthem for groups to sing at the end of their set list. But again, I think there's more to it. Rather than being dedicated to someone else, in this case, their fans, I think this song was sung, written, and dedicated to IVE themselves. With lyrics penned by their very own Liz, it serves as a reflection on their journey so far. In just 3 years, they've experienced about everything a group could for an entire career. That includes both the highs and the lows. I can tell that Liz reflected on the past years heavily, and how those experiences led them to where they are now. Similar to their message in You Wanna Cry, perhaps not only were people too hard on them, but maybe they were hard on themselves too. And possibly, there's a bit of resentment in there, but at its heart, the song acts as a farewell to that version of themselves, closing a chapter and embracing what's next. For the first time, yet in the most classic IVE fashion, they recite a letter for themselves, specifically their past lives, thanking them for the strength they put in to get through. At the same time, they acknowledge the pain they've endured, recognizing that it shaped them into the person they are today, a person they can truly be proud of.